Okay, whew. If you've watched this channel before, you know I pride myself on giving you objective information, whether it's product testing or a breakdown of rules and regulations. I'm not a fanboy for any one company. I try to give my honest feedback to help you be more informed of the goings on in the industry so you can make the best decision that makes sense for you. I've not done many videos on the drone ban topic, as to be honest, I'm fairly disgusted by some creators who are continually making a lot of their content around it with clickbaity, incorrect, crap for click videos. To this end, I decided to do an update from my perspective, since the recent decision by the FCC is a fairly large one for the drone industry and a pretty surprising one as well. This will probably not be like a lot of the other videos I do, so if you're a loyal viewer, first, thank you, and second, apologies for what is about to come. Honestly, you may want to click away now. No hard feelings. Regardless, my intent as always is to offer you information of value and hopefully some peace of mind as you navigate the new UAS world in the US. First, DJI specifically has been hard to get in the US for a while. A lot of people that order drones directly from DJI never got them, or maybe got them months later. A lot of people think this is due to some part of the ban, but this is a false narrative. In reality, this is because since late 2024, DJI shipments to the US are being blocked at the border primarily by US Customs and Border Protection, acting under the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which presumes goods from China's Xinjiang region are made with forced labor. A claim that DJI disputes, of course, stating that its manufacturing is in Shenzhen in Malaysia, not Xinjiang. This is a customs holdup, not a formal ban, though of course it does create a major supply chain issue. At least this is the official word from the government for what that's worth. Most recently, on December 22, 2025, the FCC released a notice where the Public Safety and Homeland Security Bureau announced the addition of uncrewed aircraft systems, the UASs, and UAS critical components produced abroad to the FCC Covered List. Something I noticed is that previously, every other specific entry on this list is a specific company like China Mobile, China Telecom, HTE, and so forth. This is the first time I'm aware of in history that an entire industry, not a specific company, is added to the list. And not only a specific item, and not only a specific country, like drones from China for instance, but an incredibly wide array of components, and I quote, UAS critical components, where the term UAS critical components includes but is not limited to the following UAS components and any associated software: data transmission devices, communication systems, flight controllers, ground control stations and UAS controllers, navigation systems, sensors and cameras, batteries and battery management systems, motors. The official reason for this is also mentioned in the document, and I'll read a few of the highlights here. Criminals, terrorists, and hostile foreign actors have intensified their weaponization of these technologies, creating new and serious threats to our homeland. Drug cartels use UAS to smuggle fentanyl across our borders, deliver contraband into prisons, surveil law enforcement, and otherwise endanger the public. Mass gatherings are vulnerable to disruptions and threats by unauthorized UAS flights. Critical infrastructure, including military bases, is subject to frequent and often unidentified UAS incursions. Immediate action is needed to ensure American sovereignty over its skies and that its airspace remains safe and secure. And also from the documents, UAS are also playing a critical enabling role on the battlefield in many modern conflicts. In Ukraine and Israel-Gaza, low-cost commercial UAS inflict extensive damage and have caused significant loss of life. Drug cartels are also reportedly using foreign-produced UAS to smuggle drones into the United States and carry out attacks. But let's say everything in both of these statements from the government is true. If consumer drones are made in the US tomorrow, couldn't they still be used to, quote, smuggle fentanyl across our borders, deliver contraband into prisons, surveil law enforcement, otherwise endanger the public? Could criminals, terrorists, and hostile foreign actors intensify their weaponization of these technologies, creating new and serious threats to our homeland? How does this FCC list do anything to address the core reasons, except to penalize the law-abiding recreational or commercial drone pilot, except perhaps make Skydio richer in the process? Well, I digress again. Now, in my opinion, a lot of this bullshit was started by Skydio to eliminate the competition, and that's just crap. Now, don't misunderstand me. DJI still owns some responsibility for this as well. I've been in the industry long enough to remember when DJI was suspected of covert data transmission, and when confronted, DJI pretty much thumbed their nose at the US government for years. The problem wasn't that there was a known specific transmission sent, but more of an overall lack of transparency and a one-finger salute to the US government for way too long that simply inflamed the situation. They did finally concede and make some data transmission opt-in, but there were still reports of some data that could not be turned off, and that only helped the paranoia continue. It was too little, too late, in my opinion. This brings us to the next stage in 2024 when DJI started getting harder to get because the US Customs and Border Protection were stopping them at the border. Now, DJI responded yet again by taking the sketchy route, by reintroducing their drones and cameras under some other company name like Specta, Skyrover, Extra Muse, for instance. Yes, we noticed with a wink and a nod. You and I laughed about it, but the government noticed and was not amused. Now, this was a bit of FAFO on DJI's part, in my opinion. You might be asking yourself, why am I talking about all this history? And it's because, in my opinion, this pattern of deception, this constant game of whack-a-mole being played by DJI, trying to see what new shape, color, and name of an underlying DJI product could slip into the US under the government's nose, simply inflamed the situation. As my daddy always used to say, you don't crap where you eat. And DJI played this by dropping a turdzilla into Uncle Sam's morning bowl of Wheaties and asked if they wanted a refill. Hence, the way to stop it once and for all was to ban everything remotely connected to drones from everywhere else in the world in the name of safety and security. Full stop. Effective? Possibly. Destructive? Definitely. Don't get me wrong, was this all DJI's fault? No. Did they inflame the paranoia that Skydio started? Yes. So overall, what does this mean for us US drone industry peasants that have to deal with this? In a nutshell, this is a widespread new product ban on all foreign-made drones, which is pretty much 100% of the consumer-level drones that we use today in the US. Keep in mind that things like an RC copter, biplanes, or scale model airplane, for instance, are all considered drones by definition and are also included in this ruling. This means that any new drone or airplane model, say the DJI Mini 6 or the Potensic Atom Air 3, will not get FCC approval to be sold in the US, and they simply will not be available here. This is not a DJI drone ban. It is an all-new, foreign-made RC, UAS, and UAS parts ban. Not only will the drones themselves not be allowed to be sold in the US, but any of the new parts like motors, cameras, batteries, etc. can't be sold here either. So someone trying to assemble a product in the US with foreign-made parts won't be able to do that either. In reality, what does this mean for us in the drone industry going forward? Here's my take based on the facts I have and the documents I'll leave links to in the description. First, everything you own today will continue to fly. It won't become bricked, it won't stop working, nobody's going to show up to your house and take your drone. Doesn't matter if it's DJI, Potensic, Fimi, Holy Stone, Ruko, etc. It doesn't matter. It will continue to fly. Fly what you have and enjoy it. It will work just fine. Second, you should still be able to get parts and even buy the same model of drone you have today as a replacement for years. With one notable exception, kind of, and that's DJI. Remember that the parts and products you own right now are already approved by the FCC, so they are legal to sell, buy, and use in the US, but the reason I removed DJI from the possible availability column for even existing models is the customs issue where they stop many of the existing models from making it into this country. This makes it harder to get DJI models, and though there will be some distributors getting them and selling them in the US, I expect this may get even harder going forward. Third, the drones available today are excellent, technologically speaking. Most of the improvements lately have been slight improvements in resolution or slightly better performing functions, but truthfully, for 99% of what the general drone flying public does in the US, it can be served with the current technology. The DJI Air 3S, the Mini 5, or the Potensic Atom 2 are some awesome products and will continue to be all that most will need for a long time to come, so having new models held back honestly won't be that limiting in the short term. Does it suck? Yes. We all like the nice new shiny thing, but will it limit your ability to take videos at weddings or picture of real estate or just having fun flying with your kids at the beach right now? In reality, no. Fourth, there is an out for the products on the FCC list. Specifically, there's verbiage that states, and I quote, "Unless the Department of War or Department of Homeland Security makes a specific determination to the FCC that a given U.S. critical component does not pose such risk," which in this case, some products, manufacturers, or even countries could be specifically added to the accepted FCC approval list. Now, I expect there to be some resistance to this, of course, but I also expect there's going to be some big backlash politically when all the public safety, law enforcement, and private industry starts pushing back hard that their industries are being set back or even eliminated. Unfortunately, this takes time, but I think there will be some softening over time. Some. Fifth, there's always the possibility that some other manufacturer will start making consumer-level drones in the US. There are some military or higher-end commercial drones being produced right now by US manufacturers, but so far there's been no interest in creating a consumer-level drone in the $300 to $500 range. That makes me wonder something. Would you as a drone consumer be willing to pay, let's say, $1,000 for a drone that's equivalent to a DJI Mini 4K or a Potensic Atom 2 if it were coming from a US company? Let me know in the comments. It'll be interesting to hear. Sixth, this will make some warranty repairs or replacements more difficult or even impossible to get. DJI has even stopped offering DJI care on many new models sold in the US, as it's hard and expensive for them to get drones or drone parts across the borders, even for repairs. For this reason, I suggest a paradigm shift for users in the US. Stop thinking of your new drone as a long-term investment and start thinking of it as a consumable tool. When things stop working or you need to get a repair, do your due diligence, of course, but in reality, your only option will be to keep what you have for spares, discard the rest, and pony up for whatever drone is available at the time. Think of it as a disposable product now rather than repairable, at least for the short term. Seventh, could DJI open a manufacturing facility here in the US to get around the US-made requirement? This is unlikely. First, it will still be a Chinese-owned entity, and that will be a tough hurdle to overcome unless somehow they change ownership. Second, the history of the numerous discarded bowls of Wheaties looms large in the recent memory of government officials. I expect until that damage is repaired someday, there will be no path forward for any such scenario. Lastly, let's face it, the government just created a lucrative black market scenario. Where there's a need or a want, a product available somewhere else to fill that need, and money to be made, entrepreneurs will make sure it happens. Might not be cheap, but mark my words, it will happen if the FCC doesn't bend in some way. So for the DJI Mini 6 and Potensic Atom Air 3 for the US market, where there's a will, there's a way. I'll keep following this and drop another video as things evolve, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it when it comes out. So, what are your thoughts? Be sure to drop your comments here, interested to hear. With that, until next time and next video, good flying.